Hi, this is Bembecito as always. Today I'm gonna do a video that I was inspired to do because somebody asked me some questions on some things that they saw on a short documentary on the Dominican Republic. Um, and a lot of people have asked me about these things, and usually I don't talk about them very much because they are not really part of the voodoo culture, although it's it intertwines, but it's not part of the the rule or the rule tradition, but it is part of the folklore and the culture, and it does kind of intertwine. It entwines with voodoo culture in certain aspects in the Dominican Republic, at least, and of course in part in much of Haiti. It's the same thing. So one of these things, most of these things are hard to believe, uh, as many people say they are mythical, and the people that say it's mythical, of course, are people that never encountered these things, or people that are more of these generations, or people from the city, or that have never been to the countryside of Haiti or the Dominican Republic. Um, so for people that come from that mentality, yes, it's hard to believe, and it honestly does sound mythical, something made up to scare people, maybe. And who knows? Some of these things, unless you have encountered them, are you can say I don't believe it till something happens, and maybe then you will believe it. So one of these things is called the Baka. The Baka in Haiti and Dominican Republic, depending on who you ask, is different things, but it's a part of the folklore, especially in the Dominican Republic, mostly in the countryside. So the people of the cities are not gonna have any not knowledge, but there's gonna be less encounters. If you talk to people from the capital, they're not gonna they'll probably know about it because it's part of the folklore, but very few encounters. So the stories are gonna come from people that live in the countryside. Um, my family being from the countryside, which is the Cibao, Mocha to be exact, the stories are endless. So these are stories that you can ask any Dominican, and any Dominican will have a Baka story, be it theirs or of somebody that they knew, or in their some town that they're from, or whatever they heard it. The Baka, not to be confused with this with a evil law called Baka in voodoo in Haiti and the Dominican Republic. Might have a relation, don't know, but the Baka, from what I know it, is some kind of evil, demonic spirit or being, because it's not even a spirit. It supposedly is it's something that's alive. It's matter. It's not a spirit per se. So it's some kind of animal that is created through some sort of pact, uh, and the people that do this are, or that know how to make this, or usually people go to a person that is a person that deals with evil, or that lends the left hand. Um, can be a boko, or just somebody that lends the left hand to create these evil things. And the Baka is said to be very evil. The Baka, people that get it are usually people that are uh, have some type of money in the countryside, mostly, People have what we call fincas, or land, farms or something. Like acres of land dedicated to crops, to farming. Usually, it can be farming, or it can be crop farming, or like cattle and chicken, pigs, livestock. So people uh, in these positions get a baka, or used to. Maybe some still do. Who knows? Um, so the baka is a sort of protector of the land or the property, and the baka is you buy it or you get it basically to protect a certain place of land, that where you have your ganado, your livestock, your crops. So over there, people usually steal sometimes crops and livestock and stuff like that. So these farmers or hacendados, uh, they would purchase a baka. The baka is said to be a pact with the devil. That's what the people say. You do a pact with the devil. Some people, they would have to sacrifice somebody. It could even be a family member, or even a son, or child, or something like that, um, to get the baka, to make the pact with the baka. That's one of the supposed conjures of creating the baka. Another way to that they say the baka is conjured up is, you take a egg from a black chicken, and you have to incubate it under your arm, under your left arm, I believe it is, for the 21 days. After the 21 days hatches, uh, you have your baka. Um, it probably involves a little bit more than that, but that's the story. What else? Basically, you have to make a pact, and the baka is a very demanding being. The baka, it depends on the situation, but the baka eats sometimes humans. It can also demand, cows, different things. The point is that if you don't feed the baka uh, when it's supposed to be fed, or what it's supposed to be fed, excuse me, the baka eats you, literally, uh, or even spiritually speaking, per se. I'm not sure, because I haven't seen the actual baka manifestations, or whatever, but I've heard the stories. Uh, People that I know from my family, my mom being one of them, and all of my uncles, have lived through Baka stories. So they have told me a lot of information on it, uh, on the Baka and people who've had them, and etc. So the Baka, what is it? A lot of people have different descriptions. Some people say that it's some kind of unknown animal. Some people say that it's a big black cow or bull. Some people say it can be a black pig, a black dog with red eyes, and that it's always dragging a chain, or it's always dragging a chain, so you hear the chain sounds. And when it passes by, or when it's around, you smell sulfur. That's the stories. My mom told me a story of this guy that was from her town, and this person was a very rich um, hacendado. He had an hacienda, and he had an hacienda with livestock and a lot of crops. He had acres and acres, tareas, what they say in Spanish, of crops and stuff. And people would fear going by his land because there was a Baka there. And of course, these are spook stories for the most parts. Who knows? It could be one of those myths that people make up. Uh, who knows? The point is that there was something weird happening because uh, there was a guy we call the in Spanish the person that attends all the land peon, which is I guess an overseer of the land or whatever, manager of the land. The guy would have to hire uh, a manager every month because the manager that he would hire would disappear. Nobody, they would just never see the person again. So the person basically worked there for a month, and they would have to get a new one. And in the town, nobody wanted to work for the man, so he would always get people from far away, and they would always disappear. Every month there was a new guy, and people started commenting that um, the Baka was eating them. That was his sacrifice to the Baka. There came a time that the person supposedly, um, according to the town people, rumors, didn't feed the Baka, and the Baka ate him. So he ended up dying and disappeared. That was it for him. Um, the Baka can be inherited from folklore accounts. So people inherit a Baka. People go purchase a Baka. Some people get rich off of Baka. So a lot of people get the Baka to get richer because the Baka also supposedly makes you have more success in livestock and in crop farming. So if you were supposed to get, you know, a lot of these crop farming things are very, uh, it's so because you can have a good season, you can have a bad season. You can have a season where rain damages crops, where there's some kind of infestation and it damages the crops, etc. But with the Baka, it made you have a lot of success in crop farming. So you would have a fruitful harvesting of crops. So that was one of the powers of the Baka. So it helped you get rich. The Baka also can somehow, I don't know how, take riches from somebody else. So if you wanted somebody else's riches or luck with farming or whatever it may be, the Baka would steal it and bring it to you somehow and make you have all these riches. The Baka stories are endless. There's people that have supposedly seen or heard the Baka passing by, and all the accounts that I've heard personally of people that have heard or seen a Baka have been that it's some kind of big ferocious animal like a bull, but bigger. So it's like a bull on steroids, and it's black, and it always drags a chain, and that the noise that it makes when passing by is some kind of tremendous noise that even makes the house shake if it's a wooden house or whatnot, which most of them were in those times, and still are in a lot of cases. So it was like if almost like a big truck was passing by and now and day where your house would vibrate or even your building. So it was something like that. But in those days there were no trucks in those areas. These are places where there was no roads maybe. So it wasn't no truck, So it was something though. I mean, there was some big noise, and according to people, the there was a light, some kind of big light coming from the eyes, or fire, some kind of fire involved in what they saw. Again, the chains that it dragged were like very noisy. It was a lot of people describe it like that. Some people have seen like a big black dog, but it was again no regular dog because it had reddish eyes and it was like a real big dog. In some cases, people describe it as a dog with two heads or three heads or something like that. Some people would say it was like with a head of a dog and a body of something else. So people would describe it in many different ways. So it's very it varies. What is the Baka, physically. So the Baka is almost like the chupacabras in a way that we heard about the chupacabras in Puerto Rico and Mexico, even in the Dominican Republic. I think we heard it. I'm not sure, but Puerto Rico was its main place. But the Baka, yes, um, I believe it because uh, not that I believe in many things, but I don't believe it because I haven't seen it, but I don't doubt it because the accounts are just so big, so many accounts. So there's a saying in Spanish in the Dominican Republic. Uh, in Spanish, I forgot how it goes, but it basically says if the river, if you hear a river, or if the river makes a sound, it's because it's bringing water. There's water. So, si el río suena, es porque agua trae. If the river sounds, it's because it has water. So basically, that means that if there's so many accounts all around the country, Haiti and DR, the whole island, uh, there has to be some truth to it. And there were a lot of accounts. You can talk to a lot of the elders, and they'll tell you they've seen it. They've battled a Baka. They've dealt with a Baka. They've heard of somebody that had a Baka. Somebody disappeared to a Baka. Many stories. The Baka is hard to get rid of because it's something that you have to kind of maintain. So you only get out of it by death, um, from what I've heard. So you die at the hand of the Baka. Or when you die, somebody else inherited in your family, and they then have to take care of the Baka. So the Baka is somewhat like these things you hear from Africa because it comes from the natives. It comes from Africa. The origin, I'm guessing. So it's like these things where you hear people encountered mermaids, and the mermaid, you make a pact with the mermaid, and you become rich, but you have to serve that mermaid. The Baka is kind of like the same story in a way, I'm guessing, where you make a pact with this animal, this demon, whatever it is, and you have to, the Baka will give you all you need. But the day that you fail the Baka eats you. So it's a double-edged sword. You have to be a slave to the Baka, so the Baka can provide for you. Um, Another thing that exists out of the many of DR's folklore are Galipotes. Galipotes are like people that transform into animals. They're shapeshifters of the sort. So again, I'm not sure if these people are born this way according to folklore, or they get some kind of power somewhere. They make some kind of pact. But the Galipote is a person that transforms. Uh, it can be something that's passed down through generations. I'm not sure. According to folklore, I haven't investigated the Galipote too much. But the Galipote is a person that shape shifts. They transform into animals. When they're in danger, they can transform into some certain type of animal, fly away, etc. There's also people that transport or teleport. This supposedly is gained by somebody that is a black magic expert. Some boko uh, specialize in all these things. Not all boko uh, deal with many things. There might be a boko that has this power. There might be another boko that has another power, etc., etc. So you have to go to a person that deals with that certain power, and teleporting is one of them. The teleporting thing is used to escape danger, and there have been many famous uh, runaway or wanted people on the island historically that had these powers to teleport and disappear in the face of danger. One of them was Enrique Blanco, a very famous uh, folkloric figure of the Dominican Republic. He was anti Trujillo. He was one of the people fighting Trujillo, and he was said to have bought this power from a famous Boko in Haiti, and he used it to evade uh, Trujillo's army. He was, a fugitive on the run for years, and he evaded danger many times. There's even novels that were written about it. Uh, it's a famous thing. If you guys want to look it up, Enrique Blanco, the Dominican Republic, and Juan Bosch, which was a famous politician of the Dominican Republic, a novelist, also wrote a novel on Enrique Blanco. And he was said to have this power. He bought this power, and he used it to his advantage as a fugitive on the run from Trujillo. But Galipotes are one. The teleporters are another. There's also in Haiti they're called Lugaru, which are basically the shapeshifters or people that transform into animals or something like that. Many people have encountered them. Again, many stories. All these stories happen in the countryside because for some reason in the city, these things cannot, happen because obviously the city is not a place where these things can manifest or live or whatever the case may be. So everything happens in the countryside. Another thing that is very famous in DR and encountered in the old times in the countryside are duendes. Duendes are like elves or something like that. They sound very funny. And these are elves that supposedly help people with that are in danger. So the duendes they don't let anybody see them. But if you're chosen or you have some kind of sight, you can see them. And there's a lot of accounts of them in the countryside. They operate mostly at night or in the very deep bush. And these elves, again, this is something that transcends cultures because in Africa they're very a lot present in African folklore and magic and uh, spirituality. In Europe, you're going to find them. In Asia, here in Native American culture. So these are beings, whatever they are, that are all around, and different cultures have experienced it. Same thing with the shape shifting. That's something that transcends cultures. Another thing very famous in the Dominican Republic, and you can look it up and see videos uh, on it in the Dominican Republic, even of news reports all the time. And my town, Mocha, happens to be one of the most famous places for this activity. And this activity, again, something worldwide. It's not something exclusive, but very present in the Dominican Republic folklore. and it's very famous there, are the witches, the female witches that fly. They actually fly like in the cartoons, the movies, etc., etc. So the witches are something very real over there, and it's a problem in some communities in the countryside. Um, the witches are they fly, they fly on brooms, uh, as in the cartoons, like I said, um, and they feed off of children. The folklore tale is that they feed off of unbaptized children, or children that are below the age of certain age, maybe 7, I think it is, uh, some age. But basically, the witches feed off their blood, the baby's blood. That's how they maintain life, and supposedly um, they stay alive for a long time. Uh, Very old, very old. And people have encountered this a lot. I've encountered it, and it's something very real. And again, it's a big problem in some communities, because when there's a witch and you have a small child in these communities, uh, there's a danger. So you have to baptize the baby and have some kind of resguardo, or some kind of charm or something to guard the baby in the house from these witches. And the witches, they're said again some are shapeshifters, some or most literally fly. So they vary from accounts. But I don't know if they fly. From what I saw, I did see one of them, because I had 2 accounts. One of them flew, and when the witch or whatever it was flew by us, this was at nighttime, it flew like this. I'm showing you right now. It flew straight. So it was actually flying. The second account, it was like it was roof hopping from house to house. So I don't know. But these are the accounts that I've seen. There's many accounts of shape shifting. Um, and a lot of these accounts, they are naked. Because for some reason, they fly naked. And you will see these even in the news reports. Um, there's people that knock the witches down, because there's prayer books. There's these old prayers, or there's people that the old people, they had prayers. They had also the knowledge of psalms from the Bible and passages or whatever, and they had a lot of knowledge in these arts. And they had a prayer and a psalm for everything, even to teleport again, because teleporting required a prayer, and you had to do this prayer and you teleport. So these old people that were rezadores, or that had these prayers, they can battle the witch. So they can say a prayer to knock the witch down from the sky, or from whatever tree the witch was on, or the roof of the house, and the witch would literally knock down. So it was like a battle. And then they would rock the witch. They would throw rocks, or they'll tie her up. There's a case that happened not too long ago where they knocked the witch down. They tied her up, and they arrested her. They took her away because she was terrorizing a lot of the kids in the neighborhood. And then there's another one that happened really, really recent, and it's on. You can look it up on YouTube, on Dominican news. Brujas Dominicana, or Brujas in Dominican Republic, or whatever. And this witch, she's being accused of being a witch. And the saying in the folklore is, that the witch always comes to a house that she is invited into. So the witch is a known person of the family that she is attacking. So the witch has to know the people that she will, prey on the children. So when this happens, it's somebody that you know, and it's a known person of the town. The first account I had, we were outside. This was in Christmas time, Dominican Republic. I'm in the countryside in Santiago. And in these times, we do a thing called aguinaldo, where we come out and we play instruments, singing songs for Christmas, and go from house to house, drink and eat. So we were invited to a house. This was late night, and they said, "Oh yeah, come over. We'll have an asopao, this soup, stew food that we eat in Dominican Republic." And whatever, we went to the house, we ate. It was late, past 12, and a group of us we're just sitting there, and we're just we're full. We ate this asopao, and we're just sitting there, just hanging out in the front of the house. Mind you, in the front of the house, there's just a little dirt road, and while we're there, I hear like a fanning sound, almost like a motor. So I'm thinking it's somebody in a motorcycle that's gonna come through. But this motorcycle sound is taking really long to pass by, and it doesn't have a light, so I don't see it. And so I'm waiting and waiting for the sound to pass finally by us. But when the sound passes by us, I'm looking to the ground and I don't see anything. So I look up above and I see like a shadow of a person just flying through. And I freeze. Everybody else is like, what? What the hell? But they didn't make a big deal out of it. I was the only one, like, kind of in shock. I couldn't really say much, and I'm like, what? Wait a minute. Did I just see what I saw? And the people, they were like, yeah, yeah. And then there was one person that is actually related to the known witch of the town or the neighborhood, whatever, there. And he said, "Oh, that's Carmela's her name, or it is, because I think she's still alive. That's Carmela doing her rounds." So for him, it was no shock. He knew already what it was, who it was, and it's his grandmother. I think it is grandmother. So the guy already knows his grandmother's a witch, and she is the known, commented witch of the area. And he was, "Oh, that's her. She's just doing her rounds." And he was not shocked at all. He was like, "That's just her doing her thing." Everybody kind of were like, "Yeah, yeah." But I was shocked because I hadn't seen this. I've always heard of it, and I've always heard of her being mentioned as a witch, but I never believed it. And she literally looks like a witch because she looks like the witches from the cartoons or movies and stuff like that. She's very old. She looks like she's 1,000 years old, and she still walks and everything. And I think she's still alive. And I'm telling you, the story was about I was about 17 years old, and I'm 37 now. I'm gonna be 38. So it was some years ago, and she's still alive, the lady. Who knows how old she is? But yeah, and then I had a second account where I'm staying in a house where the roof is tin, and I hear steps of a person. It could have been a cat, but it was too heavy to be a cat. Mind you, the lights are out because the light goes out in the Dominican Republic. And then I realized, wait a minute, my cousin's daughter, she's not baptized. So I wake everybody up in the house. Long story short, um, I grabbed a stick of guayaba because the guayaba stick is one of their the things that kind of they're scared of or something like that. So I grab a stick of guayaba and I see like a shadow. Uh, and mind you, I was scared to come out, but I woke up a lot of people, including the neighbors, that their house was literally next to the place I was staying in, and we all came out, and we had like candles and a flashlight and everything, and the thing was so like black, it was like a shadow, especially with no light, and it was on the roof of the house, and it would kind of jump from the tree that was over the house to the roof. And at one point, I threw the guayaba stick, and it must have hit the thing, and it just kind of hopped from the roof of the house I was in to the neighbors, and it just kept going, and it disappeared. And oh, that was scary because I literally didn't want to go outside. I was really scared. Um, and I was burning incense while I was in the house and everything. It was a scary thing. So that was my second encounter uh, with whatever that was. I mean, I couldn't tell what it was because it was whatever skin it had. It was black. The brujas are folklorically or say people say that they take their skin off, and when they catch a bruja, it looks like the skin of a the skin is dark sometimes depending on the account, but it's like a super wrinkly skin, and it's just a weird thing. Uh, who knows what it is? Whatever it is, I don't know. But there's a lot of accounts of people that have come face to face, people that have knocked down the bruja successfully with these prayers. There's a lot of things. So in the Dominican Republic and Haiti, there's a lot of these accounts of the witches that fly and prey on children, basically on little kids, on babies. There's cases where the bruja was the baby's madrina, godmother from the church, somehow, or I don't know, or was not a godmother. I'm sorry, was chosen to be the godmother, but wasn't yet because the baby was not baptized. And this is the story. It's a very famous one. Uh, and this is like a lot of story. There's a lot of stories like this. This is a famous one that I heard in my town. The person that was attacking the baby, they knew who. They kind of had a suspicion of who it was. When they came into the bedroom, that the baby was crying, they just saw a black cat, and I think the person, the father, got to hit the black cat with something. Uh, I don't know if on the leg or whatever. The point was that they hit the black cat. The black cat kind of was injured and walked away injured, hopping or something with the leg. The next day, they see the lady that they know, and that lady had an injured leg. And that's how they discovered that that lady was the witch. And then I think that they ended up doing something to her and she disappeared from the place. But yeah, that was a very famous case. And there's a lot of cases like that. But there's a lot of evil things, like in anywhere in the world, in the Dominican Republic, weird and evil sounding and even fake sounding. Because honestly, I don't know what the hell those two things were that I saw, but I saw them, and they were scary things and almost unbelievable. I was like, what the hell? I tell these stories, and I can, I can tell people, right? Was this true? I mean, they can vouch for my story. I was with a lot of people there, but for somebody that's never seen this or never experienced it, it sounds weird, just like the Baka thing. For somebody that hasn't experienced the Baka, it sounds mythological or something kind of like el cuco, which is something that Spanish people in the Caribbean used to spook kids or something. So it sounds like a cuco. But these are very real things. Um, and many Dominicans will swear to you, just as I do with the things that I've encountered. I've never seen the Baka. I've never seen a Galipote, but I can say that I saw the witches, and twice. It might have been the same witch. Who knows? But I had two accounts, so uh, I believe it because I experienced it, and yeah, there's a lot of things. So these are some of the stories. I'm gonna do a video one day interviewing some family members on these stories because they have a lot more stories of when they grew up. My family had first accounts with all these things, and things that were when they were growing up, they encountered, and many of the people around them encountered it. So it's a lot of things. A lot of things in the folklore of Haiti and Dominican Republic. Again, the Lugaru or Lugau and are in Haiti the Shapeshifters, and this is a society of them that are said to go out at night and do their business. There's Lugau, there's many other societies and many other things, but yeah, it's a lot of things. Same things with the witches, uh, but yeah, there's so many things out there that are. I wouldn't say they're a part of Vodun tradition. Uh, they're just things that are almost supernatural, uh, that can be a part of Vodun, but they're not a part of the tradition of Vodun. They're just things that are supernatural and part of the folklore there. So yeah, those are some of the accounts. I mean, I'm sure a lot of you would are not going to believe it. Uh, Maybe you are. Whatever. Leave your comments, questions, and I'll see if I do another video interviewing people that have had more accounts than I have on these things.